So Newcastle United back in for Elanga, Marinakis back in charge at Forest, and a worrying injury. Welcome to your latest Forest news. Good morning, good evening, or good night. I hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Forest news. Coming up, we'll talk to you about the latest links with Elanga moving away again to Newcastle. Marinakis takes the reins, and I'll tell you the very little we know about what's going on with Nico Williams. So if you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you've subscribed if you're new to Forest Fan TV. And apologies for the voice. I had a night out last night, first night off in months with the YouTube boys. Shout out to all of them, pretty much all from the 12 Man podcast. Lawless, hold that L, bro, hold that L. Anyway, let's get into the video and let's kick this off with the Elanga story. So this was broken while me and Lawless were playing shuffleboard last night. Newcastle made an inquiry over a deal to sign Forest star winger Anthony Elanga. Eddie Howe looks to make his first summer move of the transfer window. Now, it says here, I'll go through the article with you, then we'll talk about it. I'll give you the background as well to it all. Newcastle make an inquiry for Forest over Elanga. Discussions are at an early stage. The Magpies are now pursuing a move for the 23-year-old. Sources say Forest would demand a sizable fee for the Swedish international, who still has 3 years left on his contract if he indeed wanted to leave Forest. But the move marks Newcastle's first major play of the transfer window, with Elanga being their long-term target. The offer opened at 35 million, and while it went higher, this is back on the offer that happened in the summer, a deal was never close. So it would take a fee of upwards of 50 million for the move to happen, says the Daily Mail. Elanga scored 6 times last season, operating on the right wing, a priority position for Newcastle. He's also very versatile on the forward line, can play left as we've seen, etc. Elanga began his Premier League career at Man United, joined Forest. We know all that. Okay, so that's the kind of cut and the thrust of the story. But let's just remind you of the background first. It was very late in the summer transfer window when Newcastle decided to make a move for Elanga last summer. And there was reports coming in that they put an offer in pretty much at the 11th hour. I remember we were doing it on the final day of the transfer window. There was talks it was 40 million. Some was saying 50 million. And the offer was not accepted by Forest because Marinakis came out with a statement after saying that the money wasn't as important as that kind of bonding between the club and the players and the dynamics of it, and he didn't want to upset the apple cart and maybe change those dynamics in the last minute. And you could argue, I back then said I would have sold him, you could argue with an 18 GA this season, Elanga has been very, very important for Forest, setting up loads of goals for Chris Wood and getting important goals himself throughout the season. So the whole reason this is coming about, again, is because one, Eddie Howe has always been a fan of Elanga, but secondly, one of their primary targets in Brian Mbeumo is most likely going to be moving to Manchester United. Now, the deal for that is probably going to be somewhere between 50 to 65 million, but Mbeumo's biggest issue from a Newcastle perspective is his wage demands are somewhere between 200k and 250k, and Newcastle don't want to go that high. So that's why they're moving on to their other targets, and Elanga being a long-standing target is one that they're considering seriously. The other one would be Semenyo, I think, from Bournemouth. Now, there's a lot to unpack in this because, one, do you guys feel? Would you like to see Elanga go, or would you like to see him stay? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll be honest with you, I'm not against, and it'll be an unpopular opinion, Elanga going, if the money is reinvested into better quality wingers. Now, what I would say is we already have a shortage of wingers. So I'm not here saying Elanga must go. But if the offer was to come in for 50, 60 million, something like that, I think that money is then very easily investable into wingers who can maybe raise the bar and push us forward. There's many factors though in this, because Manchester United have a sell-on clause on Elanga. Now what that percentage is, I can't actually remember. I think it's about, let's just call it 20%. So if we were to sell Elanga for 50 million, 10 million of that already has to go to Manchester United, leaving Forest with 40 million. That's before we even talk about PSR and amortization, etc. So that's why Forest, I think, should be demanding quite a high fee for Elanga. Now, do I think he's worth 50 million? This is a tough one. If Pete was out last night, we were having this debate, and I was like, I don't honestly think he's a 50 million pound player in the raw sense of what a 50 million pound player is. However, excuse me, in the market that we're in now, I think they bought Anthony Gordon for about 45 million. We sold Brennan Johnson for 50 million to Spurs a couple of years ago. Brian Mbeumo is looking at about 65 million right now. Semenyo from Bournemouth is probably going to be about 55 million himself. So in that group of right wingers, let's just call them that for now, that bracket seems to be the market going rate at the moment. And Forest would need to overinflate it because of the 20 odd percent, whatever it might be, going to Manchester United. Now, it could be a bit lower, but I would guess it's somewhere between 50 and 25% for United, because we got him so cheap in the first place at 15 million pounds. Now, my view on Elanga is this. I think he has had a good season. I just don't think he's had a consistent season. He goes through very heavy purple patches for me, where he looks absolutely on fire. And there's been so many match previews where I've sat there and said, this game depends on how we utilize Elanga. Play Elanga high, play him out wide on the right, force that defense to maybe not think about a high line, get them thinking differently, etc. Sometimes it's come off, sometimes it hasn't. And that's the thing. I still like Yilmaz, and I think Yilmaz would be a more complete right winger for us. I still get frustrated with the amount Elanga cuts in when he should be burning the left backs for pace on the outside and then squaring it in a cutback for Wood or whoever's in the box. But I still think he's young. He's only 23, and these are things that can develop. I still do question his football IQ a little bit. It has improved this season, but I still think there's plenty more to get out of Elanga than we're seeing. There's no question about it. He's been an imperatively important cog to what Forest achieved this season. But if the offer is good enough and overpriced, that's the key thing for me, I would sell him. What do you guys think? Would you let Elanga go or not? But this one looks like it could develop and develop quite quickly. So get your thoughts in on Elanga down below. Now, in terms of Marinakis, he is officially back in charge of Forest. Kieran Maguire, our buddy here, friend of the channel, put out a note yesterday saying Forest directors who were appointed when blind trust was created a couple of months ago have departed. So no chance of playing there's no chance of playing Olympiacos next season in a different UEFA competition. So basically, this is where Marinakis has been organised. He got it in by the deadline of whatever it was, 30th of April, I think it was. And then it's reversible. This is why I don't understand why John Textor at Crystal Palace didn't get it done when he saw Palace were in the semi-finals. And, you know, even when they won the semi-finals, they still had about 4 days to get things done before the deadline. So I still feel that Forest have a good reason to be upgraded to Europa League. Now, there are rumours as well, by the way. I don't know how true this video is, but Brandon sent it to me, shout out to him, that the Brighton players were celebrating the other night about getting into Europe. Whether or not they've heard something or not, I don't know. I saw the video. I can't verify if that video was done from like a year ago or yesterday or whatever it was, but we'll keep you posted. There's been no further developments officially on what's happening with Forest and Brighton and the Crystal Palace situation. Now, the final piece of news we need to talk about is Nico Williams. So he was playing for Wales yesterday and went off after 24 minutes and was stretchered off with an injury. How serious the injury is, I don't know, but it is worrying to see, especially as he's now established himself as at least the first choice for left back. Yes, we know that Forest are looking for a left back. We've seen Cubano. That deal's fallen through. We'll do a different video on that one. But clearly Forest are looking to strengthen on the left-hand side of the pitch as well. So depending on the length of this injury, Forest may need to double down what they're doing on that left-hand side and get more depth in. But I hope for a speedy recovery to Nico Williams. I think he's been the most improved player by an absolute mile this season. And as soon as we get more details on what the injury is, I will let you guys know. So keep it locked in, keep it tuned in, get your thoughts in on those three pieces of news. But I really want to know how you guys are feeling about Elanga. Am I being too harsh? Am I being too harsh? And do I just want shiny new toys? Is that my issue right now? Or is there some sense in what I'm saying? There usually isn't. If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you are new as well. Have your notifications on. I've got a feeling we've got a busy few days coming up in the transfer window. And we will see you on the next video. Come on, you Reds.